Much of the success of the Corleone family came from the foundation set by Vito Corleone, the Godfather. Let's go into a deep dive of Don Corleone's character and how he was able to create and maintain one of the most dominant families in New York. There is something mystical about how Don Corleone's character was written. Mario Puzo, the author of the Godfather books, used Don Vito's point of view sparingly. Most of what we know about the Don came from the people around him, like his sons and Johnny Fontaine. In the beginning of the movie, the director, Francis Coppola, really did justice to his source material by showing the important parts of Connie's wedding that relates to character development. A lot of the details in the first few minutes of the movie revolved around Don Vito. These details tell us what kind of person Don Vito really is. The first thing that Coppola showed us was that the Don followed the rules of the Sicilian mafioso culture. Luckily, we had an outsider in the wedding to help us understand the details. Kay observed how 4 men were waiting nervously outside of the Don's office. Michael explains that those 4 men were waiting their turn to meet with the Don, most of them looking to ask favors. Favors that his father could not refuse because it was his daughter's wedding day. The next thing that Coppola showed us about the Don was his relationship with the law. In this scene, we see Sonny, Clemenza, and Polly check out a group of men taking pictures of the license plates in the street outside the Corleone Mall. We later find out that these men were with the FBI. Coppola did not include this in the movie, but in the books, it is stated that the Don anticipated this. Mario Puzo writes, Don Corleone shrugged. I don't own the street. They can do what they please. Don Corleone knew who they were. His closest and most intimate friends had been advised to attend the wedding in automobiles not their own. Then the Don allowed Sonny to get into a tantrum and confront the FBI. The Don disapproved of this, but he allows his son's temper to flare. This shows another of the Don's traits that I will talk more about later, but for now let me focus on the Don's relationship with the law. His view of the government was mildly stated when the author talks about Michael Corleone's deeds in the Marines. He enlisted and fought over the Pacific Ocean. He became a captain and won medals. In 1944, his picture was printed in Life magazine with a photo layout of his deeds. A friend had shown Don Corleone the magazine. His family did not dare. And the Don had gruntly and disdainfully said, He performs those miracles to strangers. I see this as an overarching theme in this series, the clash between the Don's Sicilian way of doing things and the government's rule over society. Michael talks more about his father's view later in the book when he convinced Kay to marry him. Michael says, He refuses to live by rules set by others, rules which condemn him to a defeated life. But his ultimate aim is to enter that society with a certain power, since a society doesn't really protect its members who do not have their own individual power. In the meantime, he operates on a code of ethics he considers far superior to the legal structures of society. This sums up the Don's mentality towards the government. And at this point in Michael's character arc, he finally understood and saw things the way his father did, because of the things he went through in the war against the New York families. He was punched in the face by someone who represented the law. That same person was paid to set up the death of his father. Later on, his hand was forced to protect his father by killing their enemies. He had been to Sicily and saw what their lives would have been if his father was not sent to America. It was through this lens that Don Corleone saw the world. Before he killed Fanucci, he tried to be an honest man in America. He followed the rules, but all around him he saw that the laws did not protect the weak and those without power. When those same injustices were applied onto him, that's when he decided to operate outside the law. Let me talk about how the Don viewed people around him. It is obvious where his priorities lie: his family. He killed Fanucci for his family. He only started a life of crime with Clemenza and Tessio because he lost his job. and he sought and maintained wealth and power to prepare his family to enter society. Because of this, he gave his children special treatment, almost to the point of spoiling some of them. One quality that stands out in the Don is the way he saw the defining characteristics of others and how he used them. An example was his relationship with Luca Brasi. Luca was looked upon with fear in their circles. He was capable of taking down valuable targets of the family. As a button man, he was on a league of his own. In the start of the first book, the narrator stated that Luca Brasi was the only man in the world who could make the Don nervous. This was the reputation of Luca, but still, Don Vito made sure that Luca Brasi was with his family. Otherwise, Luca could have allied himself with the other families or created one of his own. This quality of the Don was also shown in the first part of the movie when he did not let Sonny know how he knew the authorities may show up in Connie's wedding. He allowed Sonny to show his anger even if he disapproved of it. For him, Sonny showing extreme emotions had a purpose. And though he disapproved of his son's foolish display of anger, the tantrum served a purpose. It would convince the interlopers that their presence was unexpected and unprepared for. Unlike Michael, Sonny asked to be a part of the family business. Of course, the Don was against it at first. As I stated earlier in the video, he wanted his children's lives to be spared from the world he was a part of. The New York families did not harm or involve anybody outside of the family business. Unfortunately, it turned out that Sonny could not be spared from the family business after all. When Sonny was 16, he was involved in a robbery. It was obvious to the Don that Sonny was the ringleader. The Don confronted Sonny about the robbery. It was one of the few times that Don Vito lost his temper. This show of emotion tells us that the Don did not want any of his sons to be a part of the family business. But it was also Don Vito's fault why Sonny's fate was already sealed. He was lecturing Sonny about the robbery when Sonny answered him, "I saw you kill Fanucci." This sealed Sonny's fate. Vito tried to reason with Sonny one more time, but Sonny insisted he wanted to be a part of the family business. To that, Vito had one answer. "Every man has one destiny," he said. He did not add that witnessing Fanucci's murder had decided that of his son. Since Don Vito had no choice, he made use of Sonny's gifts. Sonny had his flashes of brilliance as an acting boss. It was he and Luca Brasi that ended the previous war that threatened his father's power and the family business. In the war against the five families, it was his aggression that killed Bruno Tattaglia, the man responsible for Luca Brasi's death. Most importantly, it was Sonny who set up the spies to track the leaders of the five families. He decided to strike at the heart of the enemy. He planned the execution of the heads of the five families in one grand tactical maneuver. To that purpose, he put into effect the elaborate system of surveillance of these leaders. But after a week, the enemy chiefs promptly dived underground and were seen no more in public. Unfortunately, he could not accomplish this because the bosses went into hiding. Before he could end the war himself, Barzini, with the help of Carlo, got to him first. With Sonny's death, Don Vito crafted his most ingenious plan yet, and that was the return of Michael to the US and the revenge to all their enemies. We cannot talk about the Don's psychology without talking about his sense of foresight. This trait weakened in Don Vito as he grew older, as stated by Sollazzo. This was how Sollazzo got to him, probably because of the long period of peace and prosperity in New York. But as soon as Sonny was killed, Don Vito got up from his sickbed and took the reins of the family business. This is where we get a glimpse of his foresight. Through the Boccicchio clan, he scheduled a meeting with the five families. He, Barzini, and Tattaglia negotiated the terms required for peace. It was in this meeting that he declared why he did not want to be a part of the narcotics business. He was looking decades into the future when the effects of narcotics will be known to the public and those who deal with it would be viewed with disgust. He feared that they would lose their friends in the media, in the government, and even the faith of the neighborhoods where they operate. Some of the other families agreed with him, but they did not have the will to prevent it from happening. His other short-sighted contemporaries did not see it as he did. They focused on the short-term profits, especially Barzini. The meeting served three primary purposes for the Don: to save Michael from the inevitable assassination attempts, to lull the families into complacency through peace, and to confirm his suspicions. It was in this meeting that he confirmed that it was Barzini all along pulling the strings. I mentioned that in Sonny's time as acting boss, we started the network of surveillance to track the bosses. After the meeting, these spies proved useful to the Don and his plan. But it wasn't the Don who was to execute this plan, because he promised that he would not be the one to break the peace. Instead, he laid out the plan for Michael. The Don retired, but he served as Michael's wartime consigliere. In this part of the story, we get a glimpse of how the Don outmaneuvers his opponents to prepare the stage for Michael's entry to power. This is the most important use of the Don's gift of foresight in the movie. He looked into the future and anticipated when the enemies would strike. He showed everyone that the Corleone family was weakened and moving out of New York. Barzini's men were becoming bolder by the day, chipping away at their territories, and he allowed that. He wasn't looking 1 or 2 years ahead. No, he was looking way ahead of that. There was 7 years between the meeting of the 5 families and the death of the Don. In the time between, he and Michael worked to stabilize Michael's succession as the new Don. The move to Nevada was a genius diversion. It showed that the Corleone family no longer had any interest in New York, that they were abandoning their posts. The Barzinis took advantage of this. They were slyly whittling down the power of the Corleone family, muscling into their gambling areas, testing the Corleones' reactions, and finding them weak, establishing their own bookmakers. The Don's death was not exactly part of the plan, but he still advised Michael what to do just in case this would happen. As a parting gift to Michael, he gave his successor his final and most valuable advice.
So, Barzini will move against you first. He'll set up a meeting with someone that you absolutely trust, guaranteeing your safety. And at that meeting, you'll be assassinated.
This was the level of foresight that the Don had. He planned the attack to perfection and prepared Michael to make the final blow. Before it all went down, Michael had this to say about his father when talking with Tom Hagen about the plan. "The old man planned a lot of it. I never realized how smart he was, but I guess you know." "There's no one like him," answered Hagen. Just as Sonny wanted done, in one grand tactical maneuver, Don Stataglia and Barzini, Carlo and Tessio were taken out, as well as Fabricio, the man responsible for Apollonia's death. In the movie, they also included Mo Green, but in the books, Mo died much earlier. Together with the two Dons, Michael also got rid of their bookies, moneylenders, game fixers, and other Barzini people who took over Corleone positions all over New York. And just like that, the Corleone comeback was complete. Michael left for Nevada and gave Clemenza his blessing to become Don. Michael had his own capo now, and a right-hand man comparable to Luca Brasi. And at this point, the succession was complete, as planned by the great Don.